going to talk about the programs that we have since almost 50 years ago. We are going to introduce ourselves. My name is Veronica Telles, and I am the program manager in Mexico City. Dr. Jimenez, can you introduce yourself? Dr. Juan Jose, can you introduce yourself?
Tu micrófono, Juan.
Yes, sí. Yeah, my name is Juan Jimenez, and I am a researcher here in Mérida at the Autonomous University of Yucatan, working with the field research program of the UCEAP.
Thanks.
My name is Lucia Rayas. I'm a historian and a sociologist. I teach the contemporary Mexico history class.
Hi everyone, my name is Giovanna. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a trans woman. I am a graduate of UC Berkeley, and I studied abroad for a year in UNAM a couple of years back. So I'm here to talk about my experience.
Thank you. So, as I said, my name is Veronica Telles. I am the program manager in Mexico City. I have been working for the UCEAP program since 1994. Here are my contact information if you need to contact me after this webinar. As I said, I am happy and glad to announce our new program with the Tec de Monterrey campus Ciudad de Mexico. This campus is considered the newest and most modern campus since 2001 after it was rebuilt. It is located in the south part of Mexico City in the Alcaldía Tlalpan. It has the second largest students population in the Tecnológico de Monterrey system, with more than 8,000 students that are in high school, bachelor, master's, and PhD programs. The new facilities is spread across 24 hectares. The academic opportunities that the Tec de Monterrey campus Ciudad de Mexico offers several undergraduate degrees under their 5 different schools, all with a wide variety of courses in English and Spanish, engineering and science, architecture, art and design, business, humanities and education, social science and government, and also you can take Spanish as a second language and a cultural of Mexico. You can combine regular courses and language and cultural courses to learn to speak Spanish and obtain knowledge about Mexico and Latin America. Facilities and extracurricular activities in the campus. Tec de Monterrey have a 5-floor library, up-to-date and modern laboratories, indoor and outdoor sports facilities in their campus center, medical service that offers primary care, emergency room, COVID follow-up, and physical therapy. Also, inside the campus, they have their internal transportation that is called Transportec. They have international private security, ATMs, and free Wi-Fi inside the campus. Stands on food like Starbucks and Suchitos and other. Housing options. As the Mexico City campus doesn't have a campus accommodations, they have a wide variety of options like homestays programs and apartments. Students can live with a Mexican family to live and learn about their cultures and traditions. Family will provide support and help. If you rather prefer to live with other international and national students, they will provide with a list of housing options around campus. They can be rooms or a complete houses. All arrangements must be handled by the students. If neither of these 2 options work for you, I also can help you to find something else. So now we're going to talk about the field research program. That is a program that starts on July. During the first part, the 5 weeks, you take courses at the Casa de California, which is located between San Angel and Coyoacán in a beautiful neighborhood called Chimalistac. The students take 3 courses that are Advanced Spanish, Field Research Methods, and Contemporary Mexico. The second part of the program, the last 12 weeks of the program, students are held the field research site even in Oaxaca, Yucatan, Querétaro, or Mexico City. Dr. Jimenez is going to talk about the experience in the sites.
Okay, as you already saw, there will be different places that you can do the field research program. And I will be talking more in general as mentor. So any of you that will go into the FRP in the different states will have a mentor who has been working in research, doing research in the region. The mentors, in my case, I'm a biologist, and then I had a PhD in botany, but I have my experiences in agroecology. But I work with other professors here in the university and other research centers here in the Yucatan. So you will have not only the mentor, but also the appropriate guidance according to the interest of the research that you would like to conduct. But as a mentor, we have informal support to give it, to offer to you, starting from the housing once that you arrive to the site. And then we need to introduce you to the cultural experiences. Why? Because at least here in Merida, we have the Yucatecan Mayan, and they are still alive. And if you are going to work in a rural community, we will need to go and introduce to the authorities in these communities. We usually will take you with the in charge of the community, and not only the in charge of the government, but also with the local authorities, and introduce to the different rural cultural aspects. In some cases, some of the ceremonies that they have, and also the housing that it's available in these rural communities. And also introduce in general to the different and most important cultural aspects of each region. And when I'm talking about each region, because if you go to Oaxaca, it will be very different. And the same happens if you go to Querétaro or you stay in Mexico City. Can I have the next one? Okay. But once that you get established in place and have all this information about the culture and what to do in case of you are sick or things like that, then you will need to start to develop a research protocol. Actually, some of you will start even in Mexico City with the research protocol and get in touch with the mentor that you will have. And this research protocol will require that you have a review of the literature, and sometimes, in many cases, we can offer some guide or send even some of the papers that you will need to read. Once that you are here, the main thing is to have a research question, and this research question need to be one that you will realize during the 12 weeks that you will stay here. And once that you have clear this question is to establish the objectives and work with the methodology. And this is the whole protocol that it will be necessary, and also not only the methodology, but also what are you expecting, and have this schedule. And this schedule will go from the starting from the research protocol and then go to the different parts of meetings with the mentor in order to see how is evolving the research that you are conducting. Can I have the next one? Okay. this in my case, these meetings will be every 2 weeks, but that it depends also of how frequent requires the students. Some students would like to have more meetings, and in some cases, especially if you are working in a rural community, in places that we are working, then we probably will have meetings every week, because every time that I will go to do the field research, I will get together with the students that are involved in these communities. And of course, as mentor, we need to review the questionnaires, the interview questions. If you have some of you probably will know participatory methodologies, but if you don't know them, then we introduce them, and so you can utilize it. And once that you get some of your results, it's necessary to do the analysis of these results, and that will be another part of the role that we will have with you, is to help you to make the analysis and how to present the results in a way that can be understood by any reader, and of course discuss all this and get the conclusion. So usually what we will do is, if you are working in a rural community, you will get together with people, with local people, and for that reason you need to have a participatory methodologies. If you are in one of these rural communities, usually there are other students or promoters that work with us in these regions. And at the end, in any of these communities, you will need to present the results. And that is what the picture that you see in the bottom is one of the students that was working in school, doing some research about how was the teaching at the school. And in this case was a school that teaches both Spanish and Maya. But she needed to present, once that she finished, what she did and what were the results to the director and also the teachers of the school. And I think that is in general what is the role of us as mentors. And we will have differences, of course. In Oaxaca, in each place there is another person. The background will be different, but all of us have experience working in the region and also other contacts. So the subjects that you will do as field research, the main thing is that it will be things that are interested for you, and that can be done in 12 weeks and in the region that you decide to go.
Thanks. Lucia?
Ay, doctora, tiene el micrófono apagado.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you. It's my pleasure to talk to you about the summer program. This 5-week-long program beginning in July provides the students with two incredible things: an academic Mexican history and Spanish language classes, together with an out-of-classroom experience that's a complement to these classes through all sorts of activities, especially field trips, and also the presence of amazing speakers. For an in-depth description of the courses that make up the Contemporary Mexico program, please refer to the website. There you will find in-depth descriptions. May I please have the next slide? This shorter program has become the most popular program in recent years for Mexico EAP. More students come to it, probably because in only 5 weeks, the students are allowed to go back with full-term credits. It's intense indeed, but it's also lots of fun and interesting for most students when they don't want to spend a lengthy time away from California. It allows for only 5 weeks stay elsewhere and experience a different way of life in many ways. Though the main focus is on Mexican history, recent Mexican history, we occasionally delve into pre-Hispanic cultures and legacy, as well as take a more political science approach to current events, including binational issues, which are incredibly important. US-Mexico binational relations are most important for both our nations. The course, like I said, is compounded by several relevant field trips that cover historical sites, but also places where daily life happens, where Mexicans learn and find enjoyment and social alternatives. It's relevant to mark that throughout the program, we try to provide students with a view at what takes place in less favored environments in Mexico. There are several programs that the students visit, several projects that students visit to take to have the experience of the whole array of things that they wouldn't do otherwise. Usually students find Mexico City's vibrancy like I said before, like a new way of life. It has an amazing array of cultural activities and social activities that provide entertainment options for almost every taste.
Lucia, our team Lucia is having problems with the connection of her internet. So can we continue with Giovanna?
But if you want to go back to, oh, there she is.
Yes. Lucia, can you hear?
I will repeat this part. I don't know where it got disconnected. I was talking about the experience in the city, how it is a program that provides with an experiential change for the students. Now, can you go to 2 slides further, please? That one. Yeah, thank you. I was talking about the options in Mexico City. It's huge, but it's also very vibrant. And I was talking about all the options for entertainment and cultural experiences that are present in Mexico City. We have also an amazing transportation system that includes cable cars and a Metrobus, which is the bus that runs north and south, east and west, covers the city, which usually the students find that also an interesting thing coming from California. And also, last but never least, is that Casa California provides a home away from home for most students, with personnel always ready to work and to enjoy the time that the students spend in Mexico. Thank you. Open to questions, of course, in writing or right now.
Thanks. Giovanna, can you talk us about your experience at UNAM?
Sorry. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here. Noah, thank you for the invitation. So like Beto mentioned, I'm a former student. I'm a UC Berkeley graduate. I did my undergrad in sociology, and then I came for a 5th year to study abroad in UNAM and did the summer program first. I studied abroad in 2019, 2020, so right before the pandemic happened. Part of what brought me to Mexico City, what made me choose UNAM as a study abroad program was because I had several generations of friends from UC Berkeley tell me about how wonderful the program was, and more than that, how amazing the experience was thanks to Vero, who's here on the panel, just being able to sort of be a home base for students, provide emotional support, and I'll talk a little bit more about the services that she offers. But it was one of the only study abroad programs that I heard of where I heard of students coming from California, going to Mexico City and not experiencing things like loneliness, having a hard time adjusting because of not just the services that the university provides, but also the summer program that the Doctora Lucia talked about, and also the services that Vero provides. So like I mentioned, first I came in the summer. I was a student actually of La Doctora Lucia. And I think that particularly like as folks who come from, right, like are children of immigrants and or have just taken sort of like entry-level Spanish courses in California, it can be hard to adapt to studying abroad and taking all of your classes in Spanish in the discipline of your major. And what the summer program does is it gives you not just a sort of historical political context of the city, beyond what we may have heard from our families and like other history classes, but also gives us the sort of last minute language tools we need to be able to excel in an academic context, where we're, for example, like taking sociology, engineering, biology, et cetera, classes for the first time at a like undergraduate academic, very rigorous level, right? UNAM is the best public university in Latin America. It's the second best university in Latin America. It has a huge campus and offers a lot of services. And so taking that summer course beforehand, if you're able to come in the fall, really helps with transitioning into sort of your fall classes. UNAM has a lot of services on campus, a lot of, right, it has a museum, it has a botanical garden, it has a lot of laboratories, there are a lot of places to get involved. And like La Doctora Lucia mentioned, and like Vero mentioned, during the summer program before you even get on campus, you're doing a lot of excursions to the city. On the right, I have a picture of Las Grutas de Tolontongo. It was a like field trip we did in like a sort of water park in the Estado de Hidalgo, which is just north of Mexico City. But the great thing about UNAM in comparison to other universities is that the field trips don't stop once your classes start. Right below, I have a picture of El Congreso Nacional Indígena. During my second month studying abroad, I was able to go to, and through an anthropology course, I was able to go to one of the like Zapatista sort of congresses. I met Mari Chuy right after she had like run for president. I met a lot of other big figures and was in conversation with Mexican anthropologists around sort of indigenous movements around land defense, et cetera. What else? I think also like I was an EOP student at Berkeley. I come from like a low income household. I paid zero tuition during my time because of financial aid. And another thing I really liked about UNAM was that you are going to another public school. So culturally, there are a lot of similarities between UNAM and the UCs. You're attending school with other students who come from like low income backgrounds, who come from lower middle class backgrounds. So like socializing with folks, finding things to do, finding things in common is a lot easier than if you are going to a private school, let's say, with folks from like that were from some of the like wealthier families in Mexico City. Let's see, I think also a great thing about UNAM is that coursework is a lot more immersive. Like I mentioned with the field trips, all of my professors in the sort of Facultad de Ciencias Sociales y Políticas, the social sciences and like political sciences faculty, had connections with nonprofits. It was really easy for me to get connected to internships. And like I said, I think what really made this experience the best year of my time in undergrad was Vero. Vero has like connected myself and several other students to therapists when we needed them that took the student health insurance plan. So I was getting like free therapy for about 9 months while I was in my year or so abroad. She helped myself and a lot of other students get internships, find research opportunities. Because I was a fifth year, I had already completed my thesis. I had finished my requirements. So I was able to find researchers on campus who I was able to do like independent studies with. And Vero was able to help me get through all the bureaucratic hurdles, help me network, help me figure out how to also like how to network in Spanish on an academic level, something that I had never done before because of the kinds of Spanish that I was speaking before I came to UNAM. And right, like she also has helped students sort of like think more broadly about their goals for study abroad. Not for everyone, the goals aren't always academic, right? She helps students connect. One of my roommates, for example, her family was from Oaxaca, and she was really interested in getting involved in like a Oaxacan like folklore dance troupe. And so Vero connected her to that. She like helps students with a lot of mental health issues, helps connect students to like free let's see, if there are sort of issues around like sexual and reproductive health, she's helped students find like free healthcare resources to get STD tests or like meet any other needs that are happening. And helps folks with like mental health issues generally, which I think really is what makes the opportunity so valuable and is why so many students have such a positive experience at UNAM. The last two things that I want to mention to close out are, first of all, UNAM, as opposed to other campuses, are a lot more better connected to public transit. It's in between. The campus has 2 metro stations on it because it's huge. Whereas other campuses, like I had a friend who studied abroad at a campus in Xochimilco, which is further south, Tec de Monterrey, for example, that's about like a 40-minute bus ride to the metro. So it's a lot harder to take advantage of like all of the events going on. In Mexico City, the different things you could be attending, conferences, like other activities. And lastly, I think with the help of Vero, like she's helped a lot of students make sort of lifelong connections. So I have friends who studied abroad that were able to apply to a Fulbright afterwards. I ended up coming back to UNAM thanks to Vero's like help with helping me figure out how to network to come back for a master's. I was able to do a master's for free in UNAM. I'm now finishing up my master's thesis and working as an adjunct professor on campus. And all of that is thanks to, in large part, thanks to the support that Vero academics like La Autora Lucia gave me. Last thing I forgot to mention, right? I mentioned earlier, I'm a trans woman. I think it's kind of obvious. I think the great thing about having Vero and also being in Mexico City, one of the biggest cities in Latin America and one of the safest cities for LGBT people, is that, right, like that sort of questions of like safety, inclusion, will I be able to access healthcare that is judgment-free, that meets my specific needs? Like all of that is an outstanding yes. And this program is really ready to receive like a diversity of students. So I'll leave my participation there.
Thanks, Giovanna. So anyone have questions about all the programs that we mentioned here? We are going to be glad to answer them. You can write in the chat or you can talk.
If someone wants to ask a question, I can unmute you, or you can type in the Q&A or use our chat feature. Lots of ways to ask questions.
Yes, Genesis?
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Hi, it's so good to be here / back. I'm with San Diego now, Vero, but it's so good to see you. I get to advise for Mexico again, so I'm so excited to be here and to know that there's a new program happening. I guess my question was, what would be key highlights that I could advise students on if they're kind of deciding between UNAM and Tec de Monterrey, in terms of just quick differences, key highlights that would maybe help students kind of navigate one way or another between the 2 universities. And also, Professor Jimenez and Reyes, I was on a site visit with UCEAP several years back, and I was able to meet you all on that visit. So I believe I still have photos with you guys at the Casa de California. So it's wonderful to see you all, and thank you for all of the work that you do for our students.
Okay, thank you, Genesis. Well, I can say that I am going to emphasize that if you select Tec de Monterrey, the students can take classes in English, not even Spanish if they want. So it is a very good option for the students that doesn't have an introduction to the Spanish. I don't know if anyone wants to add something else.
Yeah, two things that I mentioned, Genesis, are, I think, like noting the difference in public transportation accessibility is important. Tec de Monterrey students it'll be a lot harder for them to get into the like center of Mexico City. Whereas students that are staying around go to UNAM, Vero always puts us in housing right near the metro. So like, for example, to get into the city center, it took me 20 minutes, whereas that would have been like an additional 40 minutes if I was living in Tlalpan. I think another thing is costs. Generally speaking, like UNAM is like any other college campus or like college town in the States, where like you can find things at more accessible prices for students. There are just a lot more activities in student groups because the student population is bigger. So there are like discounts and free like dance classes, dance troops, like pottery classes. There's just a lot more student life because there's a lot more students. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think those are the big pieces. Also just like socializing with like students who have the sort of like economic privilege to go to private school means that you'll probably be spending like similar amounts that you would when you were staying in the States. Whereas like for low-income students, for myself, a big piece of study abroad was the first time in college where I wasn't working 2 jobs while I was also studying, right? So like for me, having the ability to be in UNAM where like there was a better public transit situation, things were more cost effective. I was making friends with people who weren't trying to go out to like eat at expensive restaurants and go to expensive clubs all the time, but do things that were like free sort of student run activities on campus, meant that I was able to sort of like get more out of the experience for less money. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Thank you both so much. That's super helpful. Thank you. Giovanna, thank you for sharing your experience in general. That's also really helpful to know for future students.
And Giovanna, our program specialist, yeah, Lily is asking a question. And Lily, since you recently visited both UNAM and Tec de Monterrey, you can maybe give your perspective.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Lily Rodriguez. I am the program specialist and I work with programs in Mexico. So if you're interested in applying, you'll be working with me directly. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Yeah, I think, Giovanna, you're hitting on some really important notes when trying to talk about the differences between UNAM and Tec. Specifically, you know, some of the distance, which is going to be important as you are going to be students who are going to be commuting. And then also another thing that is really important to note, as Giovanna mentioned, is some of the differences that you're going to experience going to a public university versus a private university. There are some students who are looking for that public university experience, and UNAM would be a great opportunity to explore that. But then there's also, Tec has a lot of resources available to students who are interested in student services, maybe more to what we're used to at a UC campus. So if you're a student and maybe you're looking for more support, Tec could be a good school that could offer you that because it has more of a campus feel in the way we're used to it at a UC campus. Just some things to consider. They're both excellent schools.
Thank you, Lily. And I forgot to mention the piece about support. No, I don't know if this would be a question for you. Will Vero also be giving sort of like guidance, counseling, etc. to Tec students, or is that just for UNAM students?
For every Mexico City student, Vero will be providing the same support. Annie? Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Well, my name is Annie. I'm the UC Berkeley Study Abroad Advisor for programs in Mexico. So really good to see a UC Berkeley alum. And yeah, thank you all so much for this presentation. I just had a quick question about the Field Research in Mexico program. One thing I've heard that's a concern for students in advising is how they are concerned about being isolated or not having the kind of same like structures in place that you would have at a more traditional, you know, coursework centered program. especially if they're in a location where there aren't other UC students. How would you, address this in our advising? Because I think there are some students who would really benefit from this experience, but I also want to make sure that their concerns are addressed.
Yes, as Dr. Jimenez explained, they always are with the students in the sites. They manage schedules and they have interviews with the students, and they help the students to find housing options in the sites. So the mentors did great job with the students when they are in the sites. I don't know if this answered your question, Sunny, or someone else want to add something else.
I could try to add something, Vero. And let me know, Vero and Dr. Jimenez, if my assumptions are incorrect. So I did the UNAM program, but some of my best friends were doing FRP. I think a key, an important point is that, right, there is less structure. And because of the lack of coursework, I think the students that I saw excel most in FRP were folks who came already with a very strong level of fluency in Spanish, which meant that they were able to more easily network with professors. When they were in their cities, they were able to make friendships a lot easier than folks who sort of came with maybe only 2-3 years of Spanish under their belt. It's like a new language for them. They aren't native speakers. Generally, that was the profile of FRP students. All of them had a really good time. They were in metropolitan areas, they were in universities, so it's not like they're sort of completely excluded from contacts with other people. Their professors weren't just academic mentors, but also were there personally to help them find events that they might help them socialize. And there were other ways and other opportunities for them to meet folks that came up with the guidance of their mentors. So definitely less structure, but I think if someone comes in with a really strong level of Spanish, it's a lot easier to sort of adapt to the new condition or to the new site.
Vero, can I add something?
Yes.
About FRP? I think Giovanna hits a point that's super interesting and important. The student has to be very self-motivated to follow independent research. There will be a mentor who will accompany the student closely, especially at the beginning, until they find, the space in which they will be comfortable. And there's always, at least in Oaxaca, Querétaro, Yucatan, there's always a university indeed, and a group of people to fall back on. I don't know if on is the preposition I want, but they will always have that group of people to be with them. But indeed, you have to be very motivated. The fact that there is a methodology, a research methodology, and that they will go equipped with a class called Fieldwork, actually, where the students will learn the basic ethnographic methods of research, would allow a more independent student that has a reasonable focus as to what they wish to study or change their study. I'm not saying that it has to be fixed. I'm saying they have to be flexible and take advantage of the class they will be taught here during the first 5 weeks to go into the field and follow the research methodology of ethnography. It's a very unique opportunity that very few undergrad students have. Just to add to what Giovanna very clearly, and I would support everything she says about this program. It's an amazing program that very few students take advantage of in the recent years.
And if I can add one more thing, I think it's what La Doctora Lucia is saying, I think is important to note, that you're not just, FRP students don't just arrive to Mexico and get thrown into the sort of isolating experience of you're in Oaxaca, you're in Merida with just your mentor. They're here the entire summer before. So that's how I, as a student in another program, was able to make friends with those folks in those programs. We ended up doing weekend trips together later because we had already during the summer taken coursework together on Spanish and history with La Doctora Lucia and other teachers. We went to Piramides the Teotihuacan. We went to museums together. We went to different excursions, so that when they were in, for example, Oaxaca or Puebla, we ended up just like taking field trips together. They would come to spend a weekend in Mexico City. We would go to Oaxaca a weekend to see them. So they're still connected really well with the sort of network of all of the students who came during the summer for the study abroad.
I just would like to add that all the mentors we have is Mexican students or students from other places, usually the whole year. So the students that will join our teams won't be by themselves. And it's young people that also, I mean, if they are the locals, they will have opportunities to spend the weekends where the places they would like to go. Well, here in the Yucatan, there are many places, cenotes and archaeological sites. And, you know, if you are in Merida, there are many other activities to do. So they will never be by themselves. And of course, there will be people from the here that will stay also with them and join even in the field. In some cases, they will go to work together.
Thank you so much. Those were all so helpful as responses. And yeah, I would love to promote this program more to our students. It does seem like an incredible opportunity. So I appreciate you all sharing.
Okay. If there's no more questions, I think we can conclude the webinar. And thank you so much for everyone that attended, and especially to our panelists. And we very much hope to see our students in Mexico, and looking forward to continuing to work with you, Giovanna, and get your perspectives to help more students get the experience that you had.